guys? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply, and this week we've got a new deck for you. Last week we had Tellers, which is a little blast from the past. This week I got Runicks here. Invoked Runicks to be exact. Deck that just came out today, technically. I'm posting this on the Friday of the release of Tactical Evolution. I think that's the name of the set. So we got all the Runick stuff in there. I've been playing around with this deck for a little bit now, so I'm going to share it with you, and then maybe we'll make some improvements somewhere down the road. So I went with Invoked Runick, just because. Initially, I know I had mentioned in my water control deck profile, I was going to try to build the water control Runick deck because it seemed interesting, and then I decided I didn't want to wait, just wanted to build water control. Ended up liking that a lot, so I'm actually building that one in real life. So that worked out well for me. So then I didn't want to just do that idea because I've already kind of played around with the water control stuff. I've had the Invoked engine sitting in a binder for a while and just never really played it in anything. So I figured, if I end up wanting to play the deck, I got the engine already, make some use of some cards that have been sitting there for a while. And this is where we're at. So we'll get into it here. So we got triple Alistair, the Invoker. It'll search your invocation, which will then, you'll do the little link it off for Almirage, link it off for Secure Gardna, invocation for the Macabre, and then you're going to 100% return the invocation and get the Alistair back in your hand. The deck does not attack at all, like you just don't, because of the constraints of the Runick cards. It's a mill deck if you didn't know yet. So I wanted to play extra deck cards that made it a little bit more powerful, allowed some more control aspects, so I figured Macabre was good because you almost always will be guaranteed having a monster negation or a spell negation in hand, just because after you've summoned the Macabre, you're going to return the Alistair to hand with the invocation effect. And so it works. It works well, and if you end up not using it, you just summon, grab a new invocation, and invoke out a new... like a Caliga is really good because it limits attacks, it limits effects being activated. Like, you just want to lock down as much as you can so that you have time to start milling things. So that's why 3, you could probably go to 2. 3 is fine because I'm going to probably end up burning 1 or 2 of them off of Macabre or whatever. The one Snow, I don't like this as much as I thought I would, but it's still a nice little level 4. It's a light monster also, and it's like a last-ditch effort. Like, I thought I had good defense. They were able to wipe all my stuff. I can throw something on board to hopefully hang in there with a few life points left for one more turn, so that's why that's in here. It's alright. For the Runick cards, we got triple Mr. Rune, Spring of the Mr. Rune, or Runick Fountain. I'm not sure what the English names are for all these, so we're just going to go with the translation here. But triple Runick Fountain. This card's pretty sweet. Once per turn, when you activate a Runick quick play spell, you can shuffle up to, or not shuffle, take 3 out of your graveyard Runick quick play spells, put them on the bottom of your deck in any order, and then draw that many cards off the top of your deck. So if you have 1, it's 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3, you get what I'm saying. So it's really nice because it kind of just like cycles everything through your deck. And then once we get down here, I'll explain how it almost lets you control which Runick spells are in the cycle, while the rest can just stay in the graveyard. This is another one you could probably play at 2. 3 I like because you pretty much, you have to have this thing, or the deck just doesn't really work. It also lets you play quick play spells from your hand on your opponent's turn, so super necessary. Got to have it on the field. So I have 3. 3 of Destruction. This one's an MST, and I will explain ahead of time here so I don't got to say it for every card. All of the Runicks have a top effect. So let's see, top one here. These are all different. The bottom ones are all the same. So you can either use the top effect, which does, something, or you can use the bottom effect to special summon one of your Runick extra deck monsters to the extra monster zone. That's important. It can't go in any other zone. So if you were to, like, I typically will make the Macabre first and then start playing through all the Runick stuff if I have that play in hand. You have to put Macabre in a main monster zone, otherwise you lose the effect, half of the effect of all of your spell cards. So this one's an MST plus the special summon. All of those quick play spells require that you skip your next battle phase after you activate it. That's why you're not attacking with the deck. So 3 of those. 3 of the Runick Flashing Fire. So this one destroys a special summon monster and then banishes 2. I think I didn't mention that off of this one. Destroys a spell or trap and then banishes 4. So this is where the mill comes in. You're going to start popping stuff, banishing stuff, popping stuff, banishing stuff, negating stuff, banishing stuff, searching, banishing. It does, like, the spells all do like what regular cards in a regular deck do, but then they mill, and the idea is just to mill out your opponent. This one will Runick Freezing Curses. Target one effect monster opponent controls, negate its effect, banish 3. So it's like a imperm kind of. This is your search, so it searches 1, and then banishes 1. This thing's super good. Searches any of your Runick spells, so that could be Deceit, that could be Fountain, or really it's kind of like a blank check. So whatever your opponent starts doing, you activate it to search the counter that you assume you're going to need, and then you can activate that and shut things down. Deceit, or Runick Allure, or whatever it is in English now. This thing I had it too because I thought it'd be really important to have it in case, because every time a quick play spell is activated, it mills 1 off the top of your opponent's deck. So this thing just starts like doing work. Like once you start getting the engine going where you're recycling stuff off of Fountain and then like running through everything in your hand, ending on whatever to get the draw, your opponent's turn, you're going to use your quick plays to get the extra draws and to keep cycling. You're milling a card every single time you activate something. So this thing is super good. The reason it's at 1 is because it can be searched or recycled super easily with the extra deck. So you have the Moonin can search a continuous spell. That's the only one in your deck. And then Gary, I like Jerry. Jerry can return a non-quick play Runick to your hand, so it'll either give you back your Fountain or your Allure, whichever one you want. And then we got triple Runick Slumber. So this one's super cool because it can be effective against your opponent, but you can also use it on your own cards. So target one face-up monster in the field. Next time that monster will be destroyed by battle or card effect, it is not destroyed. Can't attack this turn. Then after applying this effect, banish 3 cards. So it can prevent your opponent from attacking. You already can't attack, so you can use it on your own monsters, and then they can't be destroyed by battle or card effect one time. So it's kind of the same idea as the snow, where if you really need to like just keep something in the way of somebody attacking for game, it can do that for you by just having them have to go through it twice. Prevents them from just board wiping, and it's the mill 3, so it's one of the bigger ones. Next, 3 Runick Golden Droplets. This thing, it seems like it shouldn't be that good, but this thing is for sure like one of the MVPs as far as I'm concerned. So your opponent draws 1 and then banishes 4. So assume you have the Allure on board and you activate this, it burns for 6 cards, essentially. I mean, they're going to draw 1, but then 4 off of this effect and 1 off of the Allure is just a huge chunk of a deck, especially if it's a 40-card deck. You're talking about 1/8, more than 1/8 of their deck is just boom, gone, and you can just keep recycling it. I mean, it's once per turn, but like you resolve this 2 or 3 times in a game, you're eating up half their deck with 3 cards. Raging Storm, this one I thought I was going to like a lot more at 3. I ended up cutting it down to 2, and could even see this as well as this going down to like 1 potentially if you wanted to fit some other stuff in here. What this one does is for every card your opponent controls, they mill 1. So if you're playing against a combo heavy deck, like we'll say a Synchro deck where they're going to fill the whole board, it can mill for a ton of cards. So it's really good. But against like a control deck, or if they know what you're trying to do, they might not play into you as much because they know you're not going to be a threat offensively as far as your board presence goes. And they're going to try to like save resources to eliminate some of this stuff. And so people can play around this one a little bit easier. But it's still cool when it gets to work. Also, another thing I'll mention, since I'm thinking about it now, if your opponent, say, has 2 cards left in their deck, you cannot hit them with the golden droplet, Runick Golden Droplet, or something like that, because it can only mill exactly the number of cards it says. So this one requires to draw 1 and mill 4, meaning they need at least 5 cards in the deck for you to activate this. This can let you play through that more or less. So you can like wait for a certain moment where they have 1 or 2 or however many cards on the field to activate it, and it can be like a kill shot too. So there's also that. And then Dispel is kind of like, well, it's not kind of like a draw and lock, but it's got a similar trigger. If your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, except during draw phase, discard 1 random card from their hand, then banish the top 2 cards of their deck. So it just rips 1. It's just a little more situational than all the other cards that we got at 3 in here, minus the Smiting Storm, Smithing Storm, Smiting Storm. So these felt fine at 2. Most of the time I end up using them for that second effect, to special summon them from the extra deck, which isn't bad. Like, at least it's not a dead card. The problem is just that, well, could you fill that space with something better? I, at the moment, have decided no, you cannot, but you could very easily find something you like better there. So that's all the Runick spells. And then for the spells that are just whatever. Double Meltdown, just to get you to the Alistair, because I feel like that control aspect's pretty important. The double Invocation for what we talked about earlier. Terraforming to get to your Fountain or your Magical Meltdown. Instant Fusion, you can use it for a couple of things, I guess. If you can Instant Fusion out these guys, you can get their effects. You can Instant Fusion out the Caliga and then use it as material to make, say, oh man, I've never known how to say this one. Algoedes, the big dude, or possibly the biggest dude. So that's what that's there for. You could also, like, I probably wouldn't play 3 Jerry or 2 Moonin. I just didn't have an idea of what else to throw in there that fit. Then I would probably cut to 2 and 1, and then you could throw like Thousand Eyes or Millennium Eyes in there to, shenanigans, whatever. So Instant Fusion. Now these 2 cards I like a lot. So Reasoning and Monster Gate kind of do the same thing. This one, your opponent will declare a card level. You're going to mill cards until you hit a normal summonable monster with a level, which would be any normal summonable monster, I guess. And then if they were right, it goes to the graveyard. If they were wrong, it gets summoned. So you only play 4s. If they're right, they're right. Whatever, you lose it. Monster Gate, you have to tribute 1 to do that. So you can tribute any of these guys that you can cheat out really easy with the Quicks plays. You can cheat, you can use these guys for whatever, right? And it's just going to mill. The more important part of that is it's going to mill, most likely, like statistically, it's going to mill probably a good quarter of your deck into the graveyard, and a lot of them are going to be these. That's valuable for 2 reasons. You're always going to have 3 in the graveyard for the Fountain to be able to cycle 3 to the bottom and then draw 3 to your hand every single turn. You're also going to be able to start to decide which ones you don't need. So maybe you're playing against a deck that just does not play back row like almost at all. There's not much you got to pop, or they don't play things that sit on the field, like they're all reactionary spells or traps. You probably would want to mill these into the grave and then just leave them there so that you don't have to draw them later on. So that's true for any of these cards. Something comes up where I just really don't need to pop special summon monsters against this Monarch control deck, which doesn't really get played anymore, but you know what I mean. And so you just can get rid of it and leave it there and then cycle all the stuff that you need, and then you'll see it more often too because the deck is so much smaller and you're just like cycling through it so fast. 1 day a piece, it's a draw. It takes 1 more out of the opponent's deck and then called by. You kind of get wrecked by hand traps with this deck if they start shutting you down, so gotta have it. 1 isn't, it's whatever. Like 1 and 0 feel like kind of the same to me. It's like, if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. And it kind of just, whatever, but I don't know what else I'd put in there, so called by stays good for now. The extra deck I kind of explained already, but we'll run through it quick. So Makaba is kind of the go-to play with Alistair, as it is in pretty much every deck that plays the Invoked engine. So discard a card with the same type as the type of card that's being activated that you want to negate, and then it negates and destroys it, or negates and banishes it. So good control. This guy only exists because if you're going to get attacked over, this doesn't have very many big monsters, so you would need to do the banish the fusion to make him a big guy so he doesn't get killed, or obviously the Alistair in the hand can pump him by 1,000, but that's why he's there. It's just an option. Caliga's pretty cool because he's a control card. Only 1 monster effect, only attack with 1 monster, so it's pretty good to start locking stuff down, even if it's only for a turn while they try to figure out how to kill it. It usually is enough to stall for you to get some other stuff. Frankie. This one I like a lot. I thought I liked it a lot more than I ended up. Like, I started going to this guy a lot more often, but and this one is not out in Tactical Evolution. It'll be in the next set, I believe. But when an attack is declared involving this card in the extra monster zone, banish the top 2 cards from your opponent's deck. Neither player takes battle damage from battles involving this card. If it's destroyed on the field by battle or card effect, you can target 1 Runick quick play spell in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So it's nice for a few different reasons. Like, it's a nice little multi-tool. So when he's in the extra monster zone, which is the only place these guys are really going to end up ever, and it gets attacked, you get to mill 2 off your opponent, and then you also don't take damage. So it works similar to like the snow, the everything else, where you're just trying to like prevent battle damage long enough, kind of like an Exodia deck, prevent damage long enough to get your plays going until you get the right cards to get the mill really, really rolling. So he's a nice stall card, and then he gives you 1 back when he gets popped, so he does a lot of things. Jerry cannot be destroyed by card effects. If it's special summon from the extra deck, target 1 non-quick place Runick spell in your graveyard, add it to your hand. When it's destroyed by battle, you can target 1 card on the field, destroy it. So also does quite a few things. This guy's really nice for once you get a turn or 2 into it, because you're gonna they're gonna start trying to get rid of these because they're gonna be what's doing most of the work. And then this guy, you can just summon him out, get it back. Summon him out, get it back. When he gets popped, you pop 1. So cool card. So 2, 3, whatever. 2 is probably fine. This is the only one I'd ever even consider playing 3 of, though, I think. Moonin. On summon, you can discard a card to add a Runick continuous spell. So this guy searches the Deceit. So you could probably just play 1. Obviously, I only have 1 in the deck. Originally, I had 2. That's why there's 2 of these in here. And then I just never cut it for something else when I decided against that. But I would probably just play the 1. His secondary effect is when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Runick card you control, or a set card you control, you can banish this card you control and negate the activation. If you do destroy that card, once per turn during the end phase, gain 1,000 life points. So, yeah. Hugo. If this card is special summoned from the extra deck, discard a card, searches the field spell. So same as Moonin, but it searches the Fountain instead of the Deceit, the Allure. If another card you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card you control instead. If this card on the field is destroyed by a battle or card effect, return this card to the extra deck. So that would be why you wouldn't play 3 of this, is because it recycles itself. Also, you're probably not going to need to search with it 3 times, and if you do, it recycles itself. So 2 of those, and then these 2 for the Alistair play into the Macabre. For the side deck here, I didn't put too much thought into it. Ultimately, the idea would be maybe you want to like smoke screen, so you would pull out all of your invoked stuff and then put in hand traps and then another control engine instead. So like I would say Majesty's Fiend plus some hand traps. So Ash, Ghost Spell, Droll, and Nibiru are the ones I got in here. They can be anything you want. You could go to 2s of all these and then fit 2 extra copies of Veil or Ghost Ogre, you know, whatever hand trap you like. But the idea then would become activate one of the secondary effects to put 1 on the field, tribute it for Majesty's Fiend, and then you've kind of locked down the field right there. Neither player can activate monster effects, which wrecks a whole lot of things, and once you've gotten him on board, you're really not using monster effects unless he gets killed anyway. So that would be the idea there. But that is my take on the Runick deck. If you got ideas, if you're playing it with a different engine or whatever, let me know. I'd love to talk about it. But I want to thank you guys for checking this deck profile out this week. We'll have another one up next week. If you guys got recommendations for what you want to see, drop them down below. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you like me, give me a subscribe. Hey, but until next time, I hope you guys have a good one.